Seizures. Gelastic seizures are a very rare type of seizures that come from an area of the brain called the hypothalamus. It's kind of in the base of your brain, and these are very interesting looking seizures. The patient who's affected by the seizures looks like they're laughing out loud when in reality nothing is funny. Usually patients don't have loss of awareness with these seizures, and they're not actually having a good time even though they're laughing.
So after CPS had reportedly been watching Chrisean and Blueface for months, the story just took a turn that no one saw coming. Junior's brain scan results have finally leaked, and now Chrisean isn't acting untouchable anymore. Because if what doctors allegedly put on paper is real, this doesn't end with rumors or social media rants. It ends with handcuffs. This is about Chrisean Rock's reaction after her son's scans allegedly confirmed severe cerebral palsy and fetal alcohol syndrome. Two words no parent ever wants tied to their child, but especially not when those conditions reportedly trace back to behavior people have been warning her about for months. According to medical insiders, the scans don't lie. The results point to long-term developmental damage, the kind that doesn't just happen overnight. And now, every live stream, every clip of reckless behavior, every moment fans brushed off as just Chrisean being Chrisean suddenly looks like evidence. A close family member came forward and said Junior weighs less than 18 pounds at 2 years old, can't properly eat solids, and is constantly congested because food is allegedly going into his lungs instead of his stomach. A dangerous airway issue doctors warned could be fatal if untreated. And now, with these reports out, everything Chrisean laughed off on Instagram Lives, the crying, the falls, the choking sounds, the random injuries, are being revisited under a microscope. What was once seen as chaotic content is now being treated as a trail of neglect. This didn't come out of nowhere. The scans just gave a name to what people have been watching in real time. A family unraveling on camera, and a baby caught in the middle of a story that might end in tragedy or in court. But what happens next could change everything, because if CPS decides these medical findings point to criminal neglect, Chrisean might be facing something even she can't fight her way out of. Here's the expanded and rewritten second piece, plus 200 to 300 words, keeping your tone, but giving it more emotional tension, detail, and momentum for voiceover delivery. That same family member went even further, claiming that doctors didn't just explain the brain injuries, they linked them directly to alcohol exposure during pregnancy. And that's the part that flipped everything upside down. According to them, the specialists laid it out plainly.
Severe cerebral palsy and fetal alcohol syndrome. This is why his voice is so high-pitched. The reason he always seems congested is because the things he consumes goes into his lungs instead of his stomach. This is why he can't eat solid. This is also why he's struggling.
Junior's neurological scans show signs consistent with fetal alcohol syndrome, meaning that some of the developmental delays could have started before he even took his first breath. The report allegedly included warnings about his future, physical therapy, speech delays, vision monitoring, and a lifetime of specialized care. But instead of following through with the next round of appointments, Chrisean allegedly told the family that Junior wouldn't be seeing another doctor until God healed him. That statement changed the tone of everything. People who had been defending her started rewatching the old clips, the ones they used to laugh off as just Chrisean being goofy. Now those moments look chilling. The faint gasping sounds during her live streams, the coughing fits, the breathing machine spotted in the corner of her room during Junior's early months. Every time someone asked what was wrong, she laughed it off or muted the mic. One clip in particular is haunting the internet right now. Junior audibly struggling to breathe while Chrisean giggles, saying, "He's laughing, y'all." But after the scan leak, that same clip became evidence for millions of concerned viewers. Doctors, nurses, and parents started flooding her comments, warning her that what she was brushing off could be aspiration pneumonia, something that in an infant can turn fatal within hours. They begged her to take him to the ER instead of praying it away. But through all the warnings, Chrisean didn't stop. She stayed live, talking, dancing, clapping back at critics, as if nothing had changed. What really set people off was how she reacted after the scans surfaced. Instead of slowing down or seeking help, she snapped at an author who mailed her a children's book meant for parents of special needs kids, calling the woman weird and insisting that nothing was wrong with Junior. That moment broke the internet's patience, because denial, when paired with medical records, doesn't look like strength anymore. It looks like danger. Here's the expanded and rewritten third piece, plus 200 to 300 words, keeping your tone sharp, emotional, and documentary style.
A book to me like something wrong with my child. You feel what I'm saying? And it's not that she's just in and out. She hurt. She responded. No, that was just weird. But I know, right? Has nothing to do with your guessing and what you think you know about me and my son. You feel what I'm saying? So it's not that I didn't like the book. It was just like, how old are you? You feel me?
While deepening the conflict and tension between Chrisean, Blueface, and the public. That reaction didn't just sound defensive. It felt like outright refusal to face reality, especially when people remembered that not long ago, Chrisean herself had claimed Junior was already in therapy. She said he was getting the best care, that she was on top of everything. But then, weeks later, she turned around and acted offended at the idea that her son might actually need professional support. That contradiction didn't need explaining. It spoke for itself. And just when the pressure on her was reaching its breaking point, Blueface jumped back into the spotlight, or rather, stumbled into it. During a live stream, he got the question everyone's been whispering for months. Is Junior even your child? The room went quiet. The comments froze. Blueface paused, gave a half smile, and hung up. That single moment lit the internet on fire. Fans clocked it instantly. Because if there's one thing Blueface never does, it's stay quiet. This is the same man who has turned public humiliation into an Olympic sport, who's made entire careers out of clapping back. So when he refused to answer, it didn't kill the rumor, it resurrected it. Later, he tried to deflect by saying he doesn't chase low success rates when it comes to co-parenting, a cryptic comment that only deepened the confusion around Junior's situation. Was he distancing himself from Chrisean or from the child? Nobody knew, but the damage was already done. And all of this, is why people keep tagging CPS in every comment, because none of it has been private. The pregnancy live streams, the drinking, the smoking, the violent fights, the jail time, the hernia surgery that only happened after photos leaked online, the second surgery family members claim still hasn't happened. Every red flag has been documented in real time. And now, with Junior's medical scans allegedly confirming the worst, people are asking the same question over and over again. How much longer before someone steps in? The constant moving, the chaotic handoffs between family members, the way the baby seems to bounce from house to house like luggage instead of being rooted somewhere safe. People have been watching this unfold publicly for nearly 2 years, and with every viral clip, every missed doctor's visit, and every live stream that turns into chaos, the same question keeps getting louder.
And coming back to see a specialist and to get CAT scans, but she told the family he wouldn't see another doctor until God healed him because they don't have the last say.
How does a child with visible neurological and breathing issues keep slipping through the cracks? There's even an entire Reddit thread now, hundreds of comments deep, breaking down the timeline, the medical red flags, and the moments when CPS reportedly stepped in but never followed through. Users have compiled dates, screenshots, and live reactions, forming a timeline that reads less like gossip and more like a case file. So if CPS has truly been monitoring this family, and if those brain scans really show what insiders are saying they do, then this isn't just about online outrage anymore. It's about accountability. Who knew what, when they knew it, and why nothing was done? Because nothing seemed to change until the paperwork started leaking. And that's when people began asking the uncomfortable question. If the warnings were already given, if the doctors already flagged this as urgent, then was this ignored long enough to become a criminal case? Or is someone still gambling that it never makes it that far? Once the scans surfaced, it wasn't just fans crying out anymore. It was family, people who know her, people who've seen the chaos behind closed doors. Chrisean's own sister, Chastity, went online saying her children are afraid of Chrisean, claiming that Chrisean wanted her to be homeless just so they could struggle together. She said Chrisean leaves her baby around random men, that her home isn't stable, and that every day feels like a new emergency. The tone of those posts didn't sound like gossip. It sounded like a warning, a family trying to brace for what they believe is already coming. And the scary part is, they might be right. Here's the expanded and rewritten fifth piece, plus 200 to 300 words, keeping your tone and storytelling flow while making it more vivid, emotional, and detailed for a voice delivery. Y'all, Once family members start saying things like that publicly, it stops being internet drama and starts becoming character evidence, especially when those same relatives are also claiming that Junior desperately needs medical care that keeps getting delayed or brushed off. What people once thought was just social media noise is now looking like a documented pattern. When the old clips resurface, everyone tries to make excuses. He's just a baby. He'll grow out of it. She's doing her best. But Junior is 2 years old now, and the same issues are not only still there, they're worse. The developmental gaps are widening right in front of millions of viewers. People have noticed how he's always being carried or strapped into a stroller, rarely crawling or walking independently, rarely interacting with toys. No visible playtime on the floor, no bedtime routine, no structured learning or therapy sessions, just movement, always being shuffled from car to room to outside, like a life stuck in transit. That's why so many have started saying, this kid never even had a chance. Not because of genetics or fate, but because early intervention never stuck long enough to work. And every time someone tries to bring that up, Chrisean frames it as hate, dismissing medical concern as jealous energy. But when you look at the evidence collectively, those small moments stop feeling accidental. Junior wearing Timberland boots on clubbed feet, which medical professionals online called painful and restrictive. Junior riding in the back seat without a car seat, his little head jolting every time the car hits a bump. Videos where he's clearly congested, coughing hard, and she's laughing, telling fans, he just sound like that. These aren't isolated lapses anymore. They're signs, warning signs that have been broadcast live in real time with thousands of viewers watching and recording. And each one makes it harder for anyone to argue this is just the internet picking on a young mom, because at this point the problem isn't how she's being judged, it's what's happening right in front of us. It's one thing when strangers on the internet have opinions, but when family members start speaking publicly, dropping details that align with what doctors, nurses, and fans have been saying for months, it stops being internet drama and starts looking like character evidence. And at this point, every new clip, every old live stream, and every defensive rant is painting a picture that's getting harder to ignore. Junior is 2 years old now. The same issues people flagged when he was 6 months old. The breathing, the stiffness, the coughing, the delayed movement. They're all still there. In fact, they're worse. And what people can't stop pointing out is how he's always confined, always being held, always strapped into a stroller, never on the floor playing, rarely with toys, no sign of a bedtime or consistent care routine, just movement, constant chaos, no structure. That's why people started saying, this kid never had a chance, not because of genetics, but because early intervention was never consistent. Every time someone raised the issue, Chrisean flipped it into hate, weaponizing faith and defiance as shields. But now, with medical scans allegedly confirming brain damage and developmental trauma, those same moments look less like motherhood under pressure and more like evidence of neglect. Junior wearing heavy Timberlands on clubbed feet, riding in the car without a seatbelt or car seat, his tiny body jerking forward when the car hits a bump, lying on a dirty gym floor while Chrisean films herself working out, when a playpen costs less than a single pair of her sneakers. None of those clips aged well, and after the scans leaked, they started circulating again, not as gossip, but as timestamps. Then came the breathing. Fans, especially parents of children with medical conditions, noticed the way Junior laughs, the stiff movements, the lack of real emotion. Several said it looked like atonic or gelastic seizures, moments where laughter is neurological, not joyful. Add that to the gasping, the congestion, the reports of aspiration, food entering the lungs instead of the stomach. And this stopped being about development. It became about survival. Meanwhile, Blueface didn't just dodge the paternity question, he complicated it, saying he hasn't abandoned Junior. Only that he refuses to co-parent with Chrisean because she only wants a relationship. So the baby sits in the middle of two adults more focused on proving each other wrong than providing consistent care. And when pressure mounted, people began digging again. The old pregnancy lives, the drinking, the smoking, the texts where she admitted using weed before giving birth, the clips where she said she sometimes wishes Junior was never born because of how evil Blueface and his family are. At this point, people aren't yelling anymore. They're archiving. Fans are screen recording lives, collecting clips, time-stamping statements, because this is no longer about opinions, it's about evidence. Now the question is simple, will this end with another denial, or will someone finally step in before it's too late? Here's a full 800-word closing paragraph, written in the same gripping documentary-style tone as your previous sections, with a cinematic rhythm for voice delivery. It feels like the calm after the storm, but it still keeps tension high, inviting the audience to think, feel, and respond. Maybe this is where we finally stop pretending that fame excuses failure, that a camera and a blue check mark make someone more capable of love or less accountable for damage. Because at the center of all the noise, the lives, the chaos, and the hashtags is a child who didn't choose any of it. Junior didn't choose the spotlight, the rumors, the streaming comments dissecting his every movement, the arguments between two adults who call him blessing in one breath and use him as proof in the next. He didn't choose to become a symbol of internet culture's obsession with downfall, or the uncomfortable truth that sometimes the people we cheer for online are falling apart in real life while thousands watch, record, and react. When you look at the story from beginning to end, from the first pregnancy announcement that felt more like a performance than a promise, to the live streams of fights, tears, and denials, you start to see what everyone's been saying in fragments. This isn't entertainment anymore. This is a timeline of cause and effect, of ignored red flags, of systems that fail both parents and children when fame gets in the way of responsibility. It's the uncomfortable moment when a fan base becomes a witness. And that's the line we all seem to have crossed without realizing it. Because in the end, it's not just about one mother or one child. It's about the way we consume pain as content. Every view, every comment, every share feeds a cycle that normalizes dysfunction until something irreversible happens. And suddenly everyone wants to say they saw it coming. But warnings only matter if someone listens, and lately it feels like nobody is. The internet has turned accountability into an algorithm. You go viral, you cry online, you disappear for a week, and then the timeline moves on. But a child doesn't get to move on. A child absorbs it all. The instability, the neglect, the noise, until it becomes who they are. And that's the haunting part. Because even if CPS steps in tomorrow, even if a full investigation proves every suspicion right or wrong, the damage of these first 2 years doesn't disappear. The internet might log off, the audience might move to the next scandal, but the child still has to live with the aftermath of everything adults decided was none of our business. Maybe that's why this story hits people so hard. It's not just gossip, it's a mirror. It's a reflection of how desensitized we've become to human suffering when it's happening through a phone screen. It's easy to call Chrisean crazy, to reduce her to the loud clips and viral meltdowns, to dismiss every outburst as drama. It's harder to see the pattern. A young woman who grew up in chaos, repeating it, broadcasting it, and mistaking attention for love. It's easier to laugh at Blueface's trolling, to treat his detachment like swagger instead of avoidance. But both of them are walking proof that when dysfunction is monetized, healing stops being profitable. And the people who suffer most are the ones too small to speak for themselves. So where does that leave us now? The scans are out. The whispers have turned into documentation. Family members are pleading. Fans are watching. Journalists are circling. And a 2-year-old is still struggling to breathe. Somewhere in the middle of all this noise, a decision has to be made. Not by Twitter, not by gossip blogs, but by people in authority who can step in before tragedy becomes another headline. Because if the leaks are true, this isn't just a cautionary tale about fame. It's a case study in what happens when systems fail in public view and everyone assumes someone else is handling it. But maybe there's still time. Maybe there's still a version of this story where intervention isn't punishment but protection, where accountability doesn't mean cancellation but change, where anyone puts the child first instead of treating him like a footnote in his parents' drama. Because what happens next will say more about us than it does about them. If this situation spirals further, if something irreversible happens, none of us will get to say we didn't see it. We've seen every second of it, live, unfiltered, time-stamped. That's the part that should haunt us. We've been watching the warnings play out in real time, and instead of ringing alarms, we've been pressing share. Maybe the real question isn't what happens to Chrisean Rock. Maybe it's what happens to us if we keep mistaking a slow-motion collapse for entertainment. Because this time, the cost isn't just reputation. It's a life, small, fragile, and gasping for air while the world debates who to blame. So before another clip goes viral, before another excuse trends, maybe it's time to stop scrolling and start caring. If you believe a child deserves safety, stability, and medical care, say it out loud. If you think the system should intervene before another tragedy, make that noise where it matters. Because silence isn't neutral. it's complicity. And the next time someone says, CPS has been watching, remember, so have we. Drop your thoughts below, but more importantly, keep the conversation alive beyond this video. Because justice doesn't start with outrage. It starts with awareness, followed by action. And for Junior's sake, that action needs to happen now.